world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes. An elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad.
Welcome back to the IP Squad and our ongoing investigation into the Alien and Predator franchises/franchise that they became together. I'm John Campbell, my partner in this investigation, Mike Gergoni.
Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines Requiem as a mass for the dead, a solemn chant such as a dirge for the repose of the dead, or something that resembles such a solemn chant. Alternatively, it is also defined as a musical setting of mass for the dead. I ask you, John Campbell, in this Alien vs. Predator Requiem, at what point are we, in fact, intoning a sad song for the dead? Or is the sad song that we sing simply within our hearts for having watched this film?
I was going to say, it's the franchises that this thing bears. There is one scene that I feel like they added only for that, right? There is one scene where you have the Predator, like, looking at the... Isn't there, like, a Predator cemetery scene, sort of?
Well... We'll get into it. But
I mean, here's the thing. Yeah. We're talking about 2007's Aliens versus Predator, Requiem.
Yes. And look, is this a bad Alien movie? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is this a bad Predator movie? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is this a bad sequel to Aliens versus Predator? There's no question that. But if you throw all of that away...
If we throw away the concept of what a movie is.
I don't know. I watched this movie this morning, and I came away with going like, all right, sure.
Here's the thing about this, and I see this argument had, is like both of these are both AVP movies, I would say, are generally thought of as disappointing at the very least, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
Because they are both like, God, that's what you came up with? Both of them are like, really? You had... Okay. Because having watched both of these, I did have the thought, I'm like, well, I still think you could make a good... Like, it doesn't have to be bad. Why does it have to be bad?
Right.
But I see this argument about, like, wow, Requiem's a little better. But I'm like, no, I've come to this. I think they're equally bad. They're just bad in different ways.
Totally.
They're both bad movies, though.
The first one took itself way too seriously and thought it was doing something that entwined these franchises in an interesting and unique way.
Yeah.
It wasn't. This movie said, fuck it, we're going to make gross, bloody, schlock monster movie. And they did that.
Yeah, but they did nothing
full
else.
Stop.
Yeah. No, it's a perfect example of I was watching this last night going, clearly they got all the notes from the first movie and they addressed all of them except for also if it could be a good movie. Like, because I just go like, oh, well, that's great that you put all the gore and stuff they took out of the last one, but more important than that would be things like plot or characters. No? Okay.
No. Look, John, the most we can ask of this film is that the female protagonist, who is barely in the movie, is in a tank top by the end and is kind of striking a Ripley pose.
Oh, good Lord, yes. I mean, I will say, do you want to watch Kirkland, Ripley, and Wish.com Han Solo fight aliens and predators, sort of? Because that's what the movie is. It is so... Yeah,
but also we got to bake in every slasher and monster movie into a single film.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing about this one, right, is like I said, they got the notes, so they're just like, the first one was up its own ass about mythology and stuff. We're not going to do any of that. We don't give a shit. This is just a splatter film. But the problem there is like, okay, well then I still don't care. The first movie bored me, and this one I was just checked out on. And also, I gotta say, right off the bat, this might be the worst photographed major studio release I've ever seen. This film is so, it's not stylistically underlit. It almost looks like incompetently underlit.
Yeah, and part of that is to do with, well, a couple of factors.
Yeah.
This movie is visually impressive for one reason and one reason only, and that is an almost entire lack of CGI where the monsters are. So,
And that was a big like point of pride for the filmmakers, which noble. I mean, we're certainly. I mean, as a monster movie nerd, I love practical monster effects.
but to basically get that done and have it look even halfway okay, it required a ton of cutting around certain things
Yeah.
and filming in sequences that require lighting so bad that you can't actually tell what's going on.
I mean, literally, I had to turn off every light in my home to even.
I turned up the brightness on my monitor.
You have to.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm looking at my giant screen TV at like having to lean very close and go like, is that a predator? Is that? I mean, literally, the movie is hard to follow because you can't fucking see it at all.
Mhm.
It's crazy how dark this movie is. And like I said, I'm somebody who's like, hey man, you know, I'm all in favor. I mean, this is an ongoing argument over my other podcast about like stylization, color filters. I'm all on board for, you know, I love Michael Bay films. No, that's quite the opposite because he's so bathed in color, of course, and oranges and
Sure.
brights. But like, even look at something like Zack Snyder, who makes very dark movies, but it's all stylistic. It's not just darkness. There's blue tones and there's color tones in it. This movie is devoid of color and devoid of light, period. It's not, they're not shaded, because I agree with them, and I've said it many a time. I'm like, you know, maybe you need to hide certain things, right? If you're dealing with guys in suits and prosthetics and stuff like that. But that's more about shaping the light, not just literally turning down the brightness on the camera. Because also, on-set stills and stuff like that, and unedited footage, a lot of this was also done in post.
Totally.
They
Well,
brought the brightness down after the fact, too.
that speaks to the directors here. We have ourselves
That's
a
a
film
big
brought
problem.
to us by the Brothers Strauss.
By the way, fuck off. The brothers Strauss, get out of here.
Colin and Greg Strauss, who were brought in to direct this film, not necessarily because of their directorial acumen, but because they started and ran a special effects house.
Yeah, they brought in special effects guys. I think this is their debut feature directing effort. And it is one of two that they've done, period. Because lest we forget, you remember Skyline?
I remember there was a movie called Skyline, and I believe it was the trailer was like eye-catching because it had those scenes of like people getting abducted, but like a crap load of people getting abducted by aliens all at the same time.
I mean, that's the just go look at the poster, everybody, for it, and that's what the movie looked like. Yeah, the whole idea is like alien ships sucking up like thousands of people at once. But the big thing that these guys' big thing was, look, we know special effects. So we can make blockbuster movies for less because we can basically be already thinking in effects terms. It's very similar to last season on the show. We talked about Sky Captain of the World of Tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry. We did that on our patron related cases. So if you're one of our patrons, you heard us talk about Sky Captain of the World of Tomorrow, another movie made by effects guys going like, this is great because we can basically do everything ourselves.
Right.
And that will save you money.
Over on Campbell Jones and Meets Monsters, we've talked about similar movies with the Underworld films, right?
Yeah. Right. Guys who are going like, this is great. And this was very much in the air at this point. Let's hire effects guys because then, and I think maybe one of them has made it, and that would be Gareth Edwards. Is I think the only one I can think of who's like a well, I mean, you can go back to Joe Johnston was an example of this coming out
Yeah.
of ILM. But
I was going to say that, or like, I mean, I don't know if you count this, but like,
hold on, you froze up. What was that?
mm,
Oh, no, you're back. Hold on, let me
can you
back.
count the Pixar guys in that conversation?
Oh, yeah, like Brad Bird. Because
Yeah,
obviously Stanton kind of shit the bed with John Carter.
sure.
But yeah, I think that's a similar thing, right?
Because they're animators coming in and like they have an eye
Yeah, but
digital effects already.
But the difference there is if you're directing an animation movie, you are thinking about story, about character. It's a more just coming from visual effects design. I mean, these guys certainly proved this. The Sky Captain guy, I think, proved that. Though, if you go listen to that, it's a very contentious review with myself and the Jones Boys. But they're not. You're missing something, right?
Characters.
Yeah, you're
Plot.
thinking. Yeah, because that's and also the thought is get us to do it because we'll save you money, not get us to do it because our vision is so brilliant. Because there's no question this feels cheaper, and we thought the last one felt kind of cheap. This one really feels like they are skating by, saving money left and right on this thing.
Well, I mean, start with the setting. We're in middle America. We're in a small town that could be on any backlot in Toronto.
Maybe the worst idea, like maybe the last place I want to see an Alien versus Predator movie take place is small town USA. What a weird choice.
Yeah, and so all of our characters are like weird, disparate extras from a single episode of the OC who all just get wrapped up in this plot.
Oh, the teen drama bullshit in this movie is really. There are times, look, I know, of course, everyone sets out to make a good movie. We know this. But there are times in this where I'm like, you honestly thought the people buying tickets to Alien vs. Predator Requiem were going to get invested about a teen romance? What, are you kidding me? I mean, that's just a stupid idea.
Especially when
what a waste of time.
15 minutes into this film, you've already are going to set a tone with like who's making it out of this film when you kill a kid and his dad who are out hunting together. And when I say a kid, I mean like a maybe 13-year-old
12,
kid.
13, middle schooler for sure. I mean, I will say, I don't think it works, but I do respect that this movie is like, we are pulling no punches. This is a nasty fucking movie.
Yeah.
That being said, that alone is not enough for me to endorse the movie, but I will say that there is no question that the beginning of this movie does extremely set out to go like, hey man, this is not the kiddie picture the last one was. This is hard R, and this thing goes harder than some of the original Alien and Predator movies with like child murder. Yeah. I mean, people are it's the IMDb trivia about the negative reaction across the board to the hospital scene.
There's literally a whole sequence in which the main like antagonist creature, the Predalien, is killing an entire maternity ward.
Yeah,
like that's a plot point.
We
in the
see
film.
a chest burster come out of a pregnant woman's belly.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, it's
nasty,
gnarly. I'm not against. I am not. Look, I'm a broken man. Okay, listen to any of our podcasts. Basically, nothing shakes me in film. But I'm also on record of I can't do any of the true crime stuff. That disturbs me because that's real and people are really dead, and that really upsets me.
Sure,
I can't enjoy that on an entertainment level. No, I'm not bashing on anyone who does, but I'm just saying. So it's like that's the thing about like when people go like, "Hey, that's too far." I'm also like, "Hey, that's so far outside the realm of reality that I'm like, I'm not going to be." It's like, well, that's not a thing that could happen. So whatever. But
my point with that was that like this movie is making a commitment to be gnarly and and that's fine. That's like obviously a big swing back from what they were doing in the original AVP.
That's
but
the good thing
if you're
going
to do that, don't try to get me invested in this broad web of characters with the open question of who's gonna die next, like because that's what they're trying to do here.
But everyone in this movie, I mean the first movie by first movie I mean the last AVP movie, which this
Sure.
is a sequel to in the slimmest of manners.
Insofar as the Predalien
It-
is a direct result of
Yeah,
the,
it continues the last scene of the first movie, and
Yeah.
in no way else it does. But this, I remember being other than they were, of course, how could they not? And I love that they call it the Predalien because that's so stupid. But
but that goes before, that is a thing that existed before this
it
movie,
is true.
John. I'm
It
just
is
gonna
true.
say
No,
that.
and that's fine. I do think it is not well used in this movie either. But yeah, I know Gorgoni is reaching for his omnibus of the Alien versus Predator comics, which are great.
100%.
Yeah, don't watch these movies. Just go read at least that. We can 100% vouch for that first miniseries. It's a hodgepodge from there. There's some good stuff and some bad stuff from there.
I'm going to the books where they introduce the Predalien.
Yeah,
because it's fairly early on.
Yeah, but it's not, it's not from the start.
No.
But
But I'm just going to see if they ever actually call it a Predalien, which I doubt.
well, because they never say, and in this movie, like in both movies, they never say predator or alien. Of course,
That's true.
Because I think one of the big problems with these movies is nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the biggest shock to me. I several years ago at a convention that we were both at when back in our convention days. We used to do a lot of stuff at conventions. Now,
That's true.
Now the idea of them actually causes me great anxiety, and I can't imagine going to one. But because it just seems
I'm
like
slowly getting back there.
it just seems like a massive germ factory to me. But back in a piece of art I bought, and I got to find it somewhere. It's in I have whole portfolios of art I bought at conventions. I bought, somebody had done a fake movie poster for Alien versus Predator, but it was Arnold back to back with Sigourney Weaver. And of course that would involve time travel shenanigans, obviously. But just that idea of like, wouldn't either of those people or anyone, I can't believe neither one of these has a movie star in it.
Yeah, I mean, the closest we get is like Henriksen from the first AVP.
This one doesn't even have that. This one instead goes for a really bizarre choice of hiring two revered Broadway actors in Stephen Pasquale and John Ortiz. I love them both. But these guys are real deal New York theater, and you do not need that because none of those skills come to play in this movie.
You're saying that John Ortiz is a small town sheriff facing like undertones of racial discrimination?
Yeah.
And
By the way,
Stephen Pascal as Dallas, the returning convict who was kind of best friends with the sheriff?
Oh, and here's a good question for you. What did he do to go to jail, Gorgoni?
Breaking and entering is what he says.
Yeah, but it's just like vague crime.
Yeah. And it never comes up.
It doesn't matter at all. It's just this movie, the script, because I can bag on the brothers Strauss for calling themselves that. How dare you? But once again, the brothers Strauss.
Mad about that?
Because the brothers Strauss. That makes it seem.
They're trying to go for a Brothers Grimm thing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. But I will say, even the Coen brothers don't say directed by the Coen brothers. It says directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to remember what the Wachowskis used to put. It was still just the names, I think. But anyway, but I got to put a lot of this on Shane Salerno because this script is lazy with a capital L, especially when it comes to the characters, because it is just John Ortiz is sheriff. It's like his name doesn't matter, and that's all he is as a character. And then yes, Stephen Pasquale is roguish hero, and then Rico Aylesworth, who has nothing to do, is soldier lady, teen brother, soldier lady, teen brother, soldier lady's daughter. These are the characters in this movie.
Hot teen girl.
Yeah.
With Kristen Hager, who I recognized from Almost Human, a show I really like.
Almost Human was very good. I think we've talked about that before. I think we were the lone purveyors of that show. Not fair, man. Should never have been on Fox. That was a big problem there. But
Yeah,
I
that's
also
it.
recognized her from another Fox.
Or no, that's Being Human. I'm talking about the one with the ghost, the werewolf, and the vampire living together.
Oh, Being Human. I also
Being
like that
Human,
show. Almost Human was the robot one. Being Human, also good.
Yeah.
I was
She played the werewolf guy's girlfriend.
Yeah, that's with our pal Sam Witwer, who
We do like a Sam Witwer.
Oh, love that guy. Can do no wrong in my book. I was gonna say I also knew her as she was Nora Freeze on Gotham. Yeah.
She's playing a lot of Noras.
Yeah.
I think that was her character name on Being Human as well.
I think it was, yeah. Nora. That's I have to say Nora Freeze like Michael Ansara as Mr. Freeze.
Of course. Well, it turns out that the Shane Salerno, the guy who wrote this movie, is laughing all the way to the bank, John.
Oh, no.
He's got a story credit on Avatar: Way of Water.
And I see he's attached to all Avatar sequels because I think the way Cameron has worked on those is he just hired like a writer's room basically. So I think there's a bunch of people just throwing ideas in because obviously he's making all of them. When you set out to make 3 sequels, he's like, just get a bunch of people together and let's come up with some stuff. No, he's laughing. I mean, and he's look, the guy's been attached to a lot of big stuff, right? Because he has a credit on Armageddon. I mean, I know like 18 people have credits on Armageddon. The 2000 Samuel L. Jackson Shaft movie, which I'm a massive fan of. I love that movie. So, I mean, I'm not saying that, but like, boy, this script. And as we know, I'm always going to take the writer's side on some level because we know how Hollywood, especially studio films, are made.
Who knows how this was torn apart on set or,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the characters are so incredibly ill-defined. And then I will say, this movie, I think, has a better crop of actors that are just not used at all. These are all good, solid Sam Trammell. Fuck, is Sam Trammell wasted in this movie as Soldier Woman's husband, who just is in 2 scenes and gets killed, and he's a great actor.
David Hornsby, one of my favorite comedic actors.
Hornsby. I did not remember Hornsby was in this. I mean, a criminal underuse of a really. I mean, and talk about as douchebag guy, you're waiting to die.
As like a shitty manager of the pizza place.
When he showed up, I was like, no, oh no, because Hornsby not only great actor, great writer too. No, you
might know him from Always Sunny in Philadelphia or Mythic Quest, or he's been in tons of stuff. He's married to Bones in real life. Good for him.
Yeah, he's married to Emily Deschanel.
Like it's not Emily Deschanel, it's Bones, and I immediately know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he married Bones. No, he's married to the late great DeForest Kelley. He and Bones have been married for a long time, which is nice.
Good for them.
Yeah. He's so funny, and in this movie, he's just like, "Hey, get back to work at this pizza place." And then later he says, "I don't care about women and children." You're just like, "Well, you're dead."
Yeah, exactly.
Clock's ticking on you, pal.
And that's the thing. What this movie is trying to do, I see what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's trying to set up this like sprawling, all the little pieces in this town. Watch as they are like. We establish them all, and then they are slowly obliterated by the conflict between these two alien species.
Which is not a bad impulse on some extent. I still think it's a bad Alien versus Predator. The other thing I don't like about this is, and the movie tries to be like, well, just fucking leave town. And they try to find a way to go why they can't. But the problem is every other Alien and or Predator movie is really smart about they're trapped somewhere for a reason.
Yeah. This one is the government tricks them into staying in the town, right?
Yeah, which is so lazily employed, though, and so just like...
Did you read some of the trivia about who that general guy was supposed to be?
Adam Baldwin from Predator 2, which would have been better.
I mean, just as a fun little I see what you did there.
I mean, well, I do think that's another thing that's weird about both of the AVP movies is how much they want to be connected, but also not. to the other films.
Yeah.
Because it is such a
No.
weird thing. And
Thi-
you saw, I'm sure, in the trivia, they once again, I think every single Predator movie has at least flirted with the idea of bringing back Danny Glover. Because I know when we get to Predators that there was talk about having Danny Glover in that.
Yeah. This movie in particular, you really cannot consider it any. I mean, look, what the canonicity of a given alien and
Yeah.
is fluid at
I
best.
think
And
both
this movie
AVP movies
is
have been wiped from that, right?
they're so inconsequential that they might as well still be there and it wouldn't make a
I
difference.
guess that's
right?
the thing too. Is even they almost made themselves irrelevant.
Yeah,
Almost
they're
by
only so
design.
relevant insofar as both movies acknowledge the existence of precursor companies to Wayland Yutani.
Oh, did you love the Utani thing at the end of this?
Yeah, of course, because it's like, it's a thing. I know the thing.
I went, no, bad movie. No, you do not get a shared universe. This is too sloppy. Get out of here.
Clean up your work, give it back.
Yeah, get out of here, man. No, because it's also just like, well, what I love about that is the end of the movie. To skip all the way to the end of the movie, we have the character who should be Adam Baldwin's character from Colonel Stevens, instead played by another character actor I like a lot, Robert Joy. This will not surprise you at all, Gergoni, that I know him as the medical examiner from CSI New York. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a diehard. I bleed for the CSI franchise. This is well established. Anywhere, Brendan always makes fun of me for my love of procedurals, but he also horror fans might know him from a movie that needs to be talked about more. George Romero's Land of the Dead.
Oh yeah, I like Land of the Dead.
Yeah, really, really good stuff there. Really good Romero zombie movie, but which people talk about more. Anyway, yeah, he plays the. And if you're an Action Shelf listener, we talked about him as the dandruff suffering hitman in Death Wish 5: The Face of Death. That is it is one of the goofiest parts of that movie is that there is a hitman
because all of the hitmen like had to have like a thing in them.
Yeah, and so his thing was he suffers from chronic dandruff, and there's a scene of a naked woman like sexually massaging his hair with shampoo, and he's like into it's a Death Wish 5 is a wild ride. I'll say that. But
is that the one with the rocket launcher?
No, that's 4. 5 has the exploding soccer ball,
Right,
which is actually
right,
how he goes out. He goes out to. I'm sorry to derail this for just a second. Bronson has a remote control soccer ball, so it's just a regular soccer ball, but he can control where it rolls.
How could I have forgotten?
So the whole thing is this guy's like, no one's ever gonna get into my secured compound. Well, he just rolls the and the guy's like, what the hell's this soccer ball doing here? And then when he picks it up, Bronson activates the bomb that's in it and blows him up. Kaboom! I think he says. So anyway, yeah, he's very old and tired by that one, Bronson. Anyway. Stay tuned. We'll definitely be an IP Squad season about the Death Wish franchise. That's a given. I think it's 4 where he point blank shoots a guy with a rocket launcher,
right,
like in the same room as him. Anyway,
yeah, of course, and suffers 0 damage from it.
So anyway, he shows up at the end of this movie with alien and predator artifacts.
Well, just predator artifacts from what we can tell.
Yeah, which is weird. What's really weird about that is, of course, the Wayland Yutani group is obsessed with the xenomorph. So the fact that they're into, but I guess whatever. He rolls up. He's just generic mysterious army guy, and he rolls in with a predator gun, and in a case, and he's like, "I got what you asked for, Miss Yutani." And I love, yeah, and a woman we don't know, other than I guess she's Yutani of Wayland Yutani, turns around and is like, excellent, and I'm just going, but also I'm just going like, well, what is that setting up? What is that even?
Yeah, it's Francois Yip plays.
Oh, and Francois Yip, you've seen in a lot of stuff. Yeah, Miss. Oh, yeah. I love that she's credited as Miss Y. Get out of here. Oh, she's in Rumble in the Bronx. I love Rumble in the Bronx, the Jackie Chan movie. She's in a lot of stuff, being a Oh, it's interesting. She's in The Predator as well, not as Miss Y.
as tracking supervisor.
Yeah. She's in a
I
lot of martial arts movies. She's also in Black Mask, which is one of my favorite Jet Li movies. Yeah. If you're a fan of like martial arts and genre stuff, you've seen Francois Yip. She's very sadly in Blade Trinity. It's the less we talk about, the better.
and he's in Arrow a little bit.
Yeah, she's around.
Yeah.
This is not an acting role. It doesn't matter.
No.
She's just an Asian lady named Yutani. That's all that matters in this.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so that's all. But I'm just going like, I'm sorry. Were you gonna make another one of these? What the fuck is?
I mean, look, there have been hey, we should do another one of these since this movie came out.
Well, because this movie made less money, but still, because they only spent 40, it cost 40. They made worldwide 130. US only 41.7 though. There was and you remember this. This movie was met with, even more so than the first one, a distinct
Yeah. And again, I'll reiterate. I saw this in theaters as a double feature with this and Sweeney Todd. I had a very bloody day.
A very bloody day. And I will say, whatever issues there are with Sweeney Todd, that thing must have looked like a masterpiece next to this.
Well, what didn't help is when I saw this in theaters, I was in the third row. So I was staring up at this movie.
That's the best way to experience it, really. Yeah, it's just, this thing is just, like I said, even the way this whole movie feels like, even as they were filming it, they're just going like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, I want to talk about, I kind of came away digging this movie this time around.
Wow.
Not gonna lie.
I mean,
for what it is, I had a good time.
Here's the thing, for what it is, I wish it was dumber, actually. Like, I wish it was even schlockier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
It's still weirdly serious. Like, it's still, there's just...
But it's weirdly serious about stuff that, like, we really don't care about, which is, like, small town drama, right?
That's the thing, is, like, the thing that's so great about, like, the original Predator, or we talked about this, you can do these thinly sketched characters. Look at Aliens. Like, a lot of those characters are just kind of one note, but there's a charm to them. I don't like anyone in this. I don't like any of these. No one is fun or funny or interesting or even cool. Like, even the cool action hero moments they give the two leads, they're not that exciting. And these are actors, because Reiko Ellsworth, I'm going to talk about. She was Michelle Dessler on 24. Fuck yeah. I mean, that was, I was like, ooh, they got Michelle from 24 in this movie when this was coming out. I was like, wow, I love her on there. So I'm saying, I think her and Pasquale could be cool action leads in this. Because he is a guy who always, very well-respected stage actor, always kind of skirted Hollywood. People might remember him from the Dennis Leary show, Rescue Me. He was one of the main guys on that.
Mm-hmm.
Handsome guy. He's got a good vibe. Kind of never found the thing to make him like a major movie star, but always had potential to be that. And I think this is a perfect example of like, this could have been anyone. He's a good actor, but that doesn't matter.
Well, because there's no meat on the bones here, right? Like you describe like, what is his crime? What is he criminal of?
Yeah.
And he's just generic guy got out of jail, is rolling back into his hometown. Like, and his younger brother is kind of leading a messed up life, so he's trying to step in and do good even though he's a bad guy. And like, there's meat there, but that is the rough sketch, and as clear a picture as we get that this film doesn't have any desire to dig into.
Well, here's the thing. I think here's the big thing. I really think it needed to be roguish criminal returns to town or woman returns from war. You do not have the real estate in the 94 minutes of this movie to develop both of these heroes, and especially to make them. Here's the other option: is connect them from the beginning. She returns home from war to her ex-con husband or estranged husband or something. Give it a Die Hard thing, where it's like, I fucked up. Not only did I go to jail, I fucked up my marriage.
Obviously, the instinct there to resist but that reduces our body count.
I understand that, yeah, but it's just sort of a thing. But because the problem, it's like, that's what I'm saying. Then don't even try, and just make it a slasher movie.
Yeah, Reiko Aylesworth's character, who is this woman who is just generic soldier, comes back from
And
military,
that
is sort of
doesn't.
estranged with her daughter.
Yeah, and that doesn't really matter. It's just it's a lazy thing to go. Oh, that explains why she can shoot some stuff, right? Like it's just sort of like,
And drive an APC and fly a
yeah,
helicopter.
right. That's it exactly. It just sort of gives her that skills. It's why every movie, I always talk about every single movie that comes out now, the main character is an ex-Navy SEAL. Like,
Yeah.
do you even remember that Chris Pratt is an ex-Navy SEAL in the Jurassic World franchise? It's just to go, that's why he can do this action stuff. It's such shorthand, or I was former Special Forces or something. So there you
Right.
go. That's why I know guns and can drive this boat or whatever.
But the only reason they have her be the estranged mother in this movie is to draw a Ripley comparison, though, right?
I mean, the filmmakers flat out said that.
Yeah.
It's in the quotes
And-
about like we just wanted to do our Ripley and Newt thing. But you're like, yeah, but it doesn't. That doesn't work. I don't care.
It doesn't work because they don't devote any time to it. Is the
No,
problem.
I
We
don't.
get one scene where she gets home. We get one scene where she doesn't get to tuck in her daughter because her daughter wants her dad to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's immediately dad is dead. We're running the rest of the movie.
Well, and that's another thing too, is there is no fallout from the death of the father. Like
No.
she's quipping and stuff later, and then I'm going like, didn't your husband just die? Who gives a shit? Wait, who was that guy?
Isn't your daughter traumatized by seeing her father's chest opened in front of her?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying yes, agreed. It is reducing the body count, but it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You either get the super high body count with no attachment to any characters, or you get to tell them. But like, because if you're gonna go at the family aspect, then Pasquale should be the father, and the movie's about getting the family. Take the Spielberg approach and be about we got to get this family back together. Make him like
it turns into War of the Worlds.
I was gonna say make him like a Tom Cruise in War of the Worlds, where it's like I've been a
Yeah.
piece of shit father, but this circumstance will force me to take on the paternal role. Hot take. That's a much better movie than this.
But yeah, with this
like,
this movie, it's all half measures where the characters are concerned.
Yeah.
And so when the corpses start stacking up like cordwood,
Oh.
you're just being like, okay, sure, whatever.
The body count, because like it's kind of, aside from the brutal shit like at the beginning with the father and son, it just kind of meanders around for a good 20 minutes, and then the last half of this movie is nonstop carnage.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Through the entire sequence through the hospital is just, okay, we've got wombs exploding, we've got people with their heads getting torn off, we've got women getting like pinned up to walls with the bladed discs, we've got guys getting heads blown off just because they smoked some weed.
But it would be nice if anyone, the thing this movie doesn't do that I will give the first one credit for is actually getting the human main character involved in the conflict. Here they are purely just trying to survive this battle that they have no stakes in at all.
Right, and they're not even really grasping that it's a conflict between two separate entities.
It's just chaos abound. And if the first movie's too far up its own ass about trying to ground the conflict in some sort of mythology, this movie doesn't. This is the laziest, just like, I don't, just put the thing that, I mean, we got to talk about the wolf predator, who is our main.
Is that the name of this predator here?
Do you know why that is? Well, you didn't even know his
Why
name.
is that?
So, because he is there to clean things up, like Mr. Wolf in Pulp Fiction.
Like Mr. Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction,
Yeah.
So, that is the basic plot of this film, such as it is.
Yeah.
The plot itself is actually kind of predator-centric, which I did enjoy. And that is, okay.
That was on purpose. They talked about because they felt they felt that the first movie was too xenomorph focused.
And that's fair.
So they were trying to correct that. Was their point?
Yeah.
There.
So this movie starts with, it's that ship that we saw at the end of the last movie.
Yeah.
Predalien bursts out of the predator's chest because he got facehuggered in that movie.
We get that same scene, but in a worse lighting. Yeah.
Yep. Shit goes sideways on that ship, and the ship crash lands into the middle of anywhere USA. I think this town is given a name, but doesn't matter.
It's Gunnarsson, and it's in Colorado.
Sure, why not?
But it's Toronto.
Yeah.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah.
Sure. Some
It's Canada
Canadian
for
town where
tax
the
reasons.
price of filming was cheaper.
By the way, $40 million. So the last one was 50. They shaved off 10 million on this one, and it shows.
Sure.
And I thought the last
Yeah.
one was cheap. So
the last Predator alive on that ship sends out a signal. We do get a brief shot of the Yucha homeworld, it looks like.
That was my question. Is that the homeworld? I think it is. But the idea that that's the first time we ever see it, and it's in this movie for 4 seconds, is really disappointing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah,
I think, or is this guy responding to, because this guy, this guy gets a call on his police radio, basically.
Let's see. The Predator homeworld, which is of course called Yucha Prime.
Oh, obviously, we all know that. That's well established.
Obviously. Let's see. Its appearances. Yes, according to the AVP Xenopedia, the planet depicted here is Yucha Prime.
God, that's sad. That's because I think this is still the only on-screen appearance of it.
Yes, because the planet in Predators is not their homeworld.
Yeah, people mistakenly thought it was, but no, that's a planet that they specifically use for hunting.
That's like a nature preserve world.
Yeah. The only thing I'm trying to think of is I'm trying to think maybe it's shown in The Predator. I'm trying to remember, but if still,
I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to remember. But if it is just as brief as it is here. Because that movie does some stuff. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Sure. But we see the wolf predator there, basically getting this signal, seeing that containment has been breached.
Yeah.
And this guy is responsible for going to go clean it up.
This guy's getting his IMF, your mission, should you choose to accept it.
So he gets his mask, his whip, and his bottle of blue goo, and he
gears up like Batman to go out there, man. He's getting ready. And I mean, I got this sense they were trying to play him like, oh, I'm getting too old for this shit, man. I gotta, this guy's been at it. He's a pro, and he's like, oh, here we go again, man. Except for, as always, the problem, and I'm not asking them to fix this by making, but the alien and they're not characters.
This is maybe the closest we've ever gotten to having a predator that is a character. Maybe the main predator in the last movie a little bit, but this one is more of like, we know his motivation.
Yeah.
We know what his mission is, and we know that he is like kind of going outside of the normal like predator hunting scheme because he has a particular mission that he has to engage.
Absolutely. But it's just like it's goofy. Like, it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of wish the movie leaned more into the silliness of this guy being like an agent of the Predators and being like, yeah, I gotta go out there and clean up some shit that went bad on Earth.
Why send one guy?
He's the best there is, damn it.
He's the best there is. Yeah.
I mean, that's the sense I get from this, right? Is like, when shit goes, this guy's their James Bond. This is their 007 or Ethan Hunt. Like, we got, oh man, it's as bad as it gets out there, man. We got a predalien situation on Earth. We got to call in Wolf. Yeah.
So the main thrust of the movie is him just kind of tooling around in the town, melting corpses and cleaning up xenomorphs.
I mean, that's the funniest thing in this movie, right? Is he's there to show up and be like, hey man, we can't leave any evidence behind.
So I've got this blue goo that can do basically anything.
Oh, it is the most like Deus Ex Machina bullshit in this movie.
I love the blue goo.
But I'm just like, I'm sorry, what is the Predator? What this movie gave me so many questions about the Predator species, which I know you know the name of, but I've never known and don't care.
Yucha.
Yeah, they're predators. Yeah. But or as we colloquially call them, predators.
Of course.
Yeah, but it made this question about like, I'm sorry, what is this idea about like, oh shit, this can't get out. We can't let people know about. What is the thought there?
Well, at least in the first movie, the idea is that like if bad, the predators would set off their wrist bombs that would like nuke everything and leave nothing behind.
Yes.
And I guess the idea here is that like, okay, Hunt went real wrong, and now containment's broken on these things.
I mean, I understand the idea of why you would want to eliminate the predalien specifically, because that's like an
Sure.
abomination. We can't. That makes sense. But the idea about like and leave no trace, I get. Yeah, it does create. But then always the thing about when you start adding this is that first movie just makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you start adding this, is like the predator hierarchy is always because the aliens are very simple, right? They just
Yeah.
exist to make war.
Animals.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are just looking to propagate their own species. That makes sense. The predators, though, the second you start giving them thought, because the whole idea of the first movie is this thing shows up and it's just killing and we don't know what its deal is. The second we start getting into the hierarchy, and oh boy, are we going to have a long, long conversation about this when we get to the Predator, because that gets into like warring factions and politics and shit.
Well, and even in Predator 2, there's sort of this we get Busey's line of like, these things have been coming here for, and we've been tracking them.
And that's what I like, and that's one of the reasons when we get to Prey, why I like that movie so much, is it returns it to the simplicity of, and even Predators. It's just like they are game hunters.
And so between those 4 films, there's sort of this implication that the Predators use Earth as a sort of game preserve a little bit.
Yeah, and that's great.
Occasionally they'll just come here and hunt people. The wrinkle that AVP adds is, yes, and those people are just stock for them to propagate xenomorphs that they can then also hunt.
That's the biggest thing I hate in this, is the idea that they are like responsible for the xenomorphs to some extent.
Yeah, and they thank God these movies don't really go into it, and clearly Ridley Scott's in the background going, "No, I'll get to it."
Yeah. Bullshit. He's just watching. Actually, did you see his thing about somebody asked if he ever saw these? He's like, "Fuck no."
Good for him.
I never watched. Why would I watch either one of those? God.
Yeah, what's actually one of the more curious things about these 2 movies is that they really do not get into the relationship of the aliens and the predators vis-a-vis like what is their experience with each other.
Yeah.
It seems like these are just dangerous animals that the predators happen to release every once in a while, but there's no real indication that, like, did they create these things? Are they simply harnessing them? What is the relationship there?
I mean, because to me, I like, and I think a lot of the comics are this, right? I like the idea that it's like the predators are fascinating because if I mean, the conflict is so baked into it, right? If the predator is the ultimate hunter, and this thing is the ultimate concept of evolution to become the most, undefeatable living organism, then that clash is just inherent. The fact that these movies feel the need to overcomplicate that, when it's just like predators hunt things, they ran into the thing that is so hard to hunt that fascinates them. It's right there. It's such a simple thing.
Yeah, no, and look, I could very easily see a movie that just like totally omits a human character and have it be more of a straightforward like action thriller, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, or a limited amount of human care. I mean, once again, I don't. The first miniseries is really works. They have a limited amount of humans that don't know what's going on, but things make sense. It's set in the future, which makes all the more sense. It's set in space on a planet that's not Earth. Get off Earth. My God, that's one of the things I really like about Predators. Is get out of there, man.
Introducing xenomorphs on Earth during like our contemporary time
really fucks up that whole lineage, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
It shouldn't be.
God, I want to see the Predators in the far future too.
Yeah, because you want to know what have they evolved into? We're only used to seeing them in vaguely contemporary times, or the far past, which rules.
But in a few thousand years, like when humanity is the stars, and they have encountered these from time to time, maybe
this is obviously just rumor, and as of recording this, they're working on it now. The rumor is the next Trachtenberg movie is set in the future. That instead of doing another time period in the past, he's jumping to the future, which would be interesting.
And look, there's also some AVP stories in the comics that have dealt with that. And one of the seeds they plant in this movie is this idea There are people on Earth who are aware of the Predator's existence.
Yeah.
That is wrote as of Predator 2.
And that's
So
fine.
some of those people are looking to hunt down Predator technology in order to get rich, extend their
I'm
lives,
good with
whatever.
all of that as part of the Predator mythos because that makes sense. Once somebody heard what happened in the jungles in that first movie, there would be intrigue and an attempt to, can we use that for military technology and stuff like that and make money?
And so the implication, and the easy implication, I think, but again, executing on it has proven to be difficult, is okay, but we also have Weyland-Yutani, this corporation that is fascinated with this alien species and trying to utilize them and them to their own ends, and it always goes badly. Like, clearly there's a cross-section of evil, power-hungry people trying to use alien technology slash biology, and them caught in the middle of a conflict between alien and predators seems so easy.
Well, that's the biggest thing that gets me is their resistance to putting like military. I mean, this woman is just ex-military, but the idea of like not specifically doing something like Aliens or Predator, where it's like an army unit or something is sent out under false pretenses. That feels like the most obvious way to get humans in this, right? It's like, oh, we were either sent out here to die to see what these things are capable of, or to capture one of these things.
Yeah.
Instead,
and have them being colonial marines seems so easy.
That's the goddamn. I don't understand. I will say I respect this movie for resisting the urge to be like, oh yeah, I'm, Dan Hicks.
Yeah.
Or like I'm surprised they didn't have Bean come back in the Henriksen way of like, yeah, I'm an early Hicks.
My name's Joseph Hicks.
Yeah.
And my great grandson will one day be a Marine as well.
Yeah, something like that. Or if I could just steal Terminator legitimately and send Bean back in time again, but this time as Hicks. That's actually, what I'm shocked is they haven't done that. That feels like something Fox would have suggested is, let's get time travel involved. And then we can have somebody who knows about the aliens from the future. I mean, at this point, why not?
I mean, for my own sanity, please.
Well, yeah. Did you see one of the most interesting things in the trivia was, I was trying to find any further detail about this. At some point, Stephen King wrote an Alien versus Predator pitch.
What?
Yeah, it's in the trivia, but it was one of the many of, because we know countless pitches came in for these movies.
Sure.
And they talk about at one point, he had some idea that the ultimately studio rejected. I would be so curious to see what that would have been. I'm not saying
unfortunately,
that
John, it's also set in modern day in Bangor, Maine.
Yup.
They see how xenomorphs really spreading around.
I have some ideas of what it would be. I'll say this. The characters would have been better because that's something King is good at.
Yeah.
And actually, the setting of this, it would have been probably this same thing, but small northeastern town.
Sure. And look, do I want to see xenomorphs crawling up out of the Atlantic? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, Stephen King took a pass at the AVP script, but ultimately wasn't accepted during production of the film.
Was it a pass on an existing script, or he worked on
I don't know.
his version of the script
a pass at an AVP script? They used pass, but and once again, I could find nothing about it other than some recent comments of him going, I want to do Children of the Corn versus Predator, which I'm like, I'd probably see that.
I mean, look, would I watch it? Yes.
Yeah.
Would it be good? Who knows?
Here's a sign of quality. This film was not screened in advance for critics.
Yeah, that's always a bad sign.
They knew they had a stinker on their hands. Also, they wanted the directors wanted to put the film out in 3D, and it was deemed too expensive to shoot, and then the movie was already too dark to after the fact
couldn't convert.
Yeah, because you have to darken a movie is already darker in 3D.
Right.
And so this movie, there would have been just a black screen if this had been in 3D.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I stick up for this movie a little bit, like I said, because of just the raw schlockiness of it and the audacity of it. And I really do like the design creature-wise of the Pred Alien. I think it's a stupid, dumb thing that I love. In the same way that I love certain kaiju.
Sure, but I just wish I wish you felt it more in fight scenes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just feels like, oh, it's just kind of a slightly smarter xenomorph with then the alien pincers.
Right. And the way it like populates is like, so we're lacking an alien. We
Right.
have the alien who can gestate
Yeah.
multiple xenomorphs inside women specifically, which is a horrifying twist.
Which I gotta say, that what I like I said, I like all the gnarly shit in this movie. I wish it mattered or impacted more. The scene, yeah, where you see the when the eggs are going down the woman's throat.
Yeah, it's
That's
real gnarly.
fucked up. I mean, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Like, as a horror
And when you
fan,
see
I'm like,
multiple chest bursters like bursting out of a woman's stomach, you're just like, oh god.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, nice. I'm glad that we're taking it back to, let's not pretend that while these are science fiction movies, these are horror movies. Both franchises come from horror. And so I think all that stuff works. I just wish I cared. And then at the end of the movie, when they nuke the town.
Look, this was only going to end like Raccoon City. Like
Yeah.
when they go full Resident Evil 2 on this thing.
Which, I mean, yeah, you can't not feel that, obviously. By the way, we mentioned that earlier. Romero wrote a draft of a Resident Evil movie, right? That got rejected.
Oh, I mean, how could he have not?
But I'm just like, well, that would have been. You want to know what a good Resident Evil movie would have been? It would have been George Romero doing Resident Evil. That would have ruled.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, is that just like adding more sauce to the sauce? Is that just like too much?
Or is that the snake eating its tail, where he's now making the thing that's cribbed from him?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that like
I don't even know.
When Spielberg made Ready Player One, you're like, but that's you. That's referencing you. You're paying yourself. He paid himself for licenses in that movie. It's crazy. It's like, we have the DeLorean from the Back to the Future. I had to pay me to use the DeLorean from Back to the Future. That's crazy. That being said, I actually really like that movie, and I actually think it's better than the book.
I think it is one of the few examples of movies that are.
Yeah. I think I think actually a lot of those examples are made by Steven Spielberg. Jaws is another one, and I think I'm not saying the book is bad, but I think Jurassic Park is also the case of
Jurassic Park. I'd say Fight Club. Yeah, they're all in the same.
Yeah. But I think that he would never touch this in a million years. But you do need. I wish somebody with the thought process of a Spielberg worked on this, right? Of going like, you can have all this stuff, but still ground it in. And I don't need like deep character work. What I need is emotion. Any emotional core to this movie.
John, he did. It's called World of Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, that's it exactly. Which is the idea of. I mean, that's the genius idea of that movie, right? Is what is the ground level normal person's perspective to a chaotic alien invasion. And I love that. I will really go to bat as like, I think that's one of the Spielberg masterpieces. And when I don't like the ending, shut up. God, I'm so sick of that. It's such a lazy criticism.
That's the ending of World of Worlds. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I know, right? It's literally the end of. Yeah, he is a pretty faithful adaptation in at least broad strokes. It's a great movie and a great script by David Kep. That's what you need. You need like a guy like Kep writing this. He wouldn't though. He wouldn't sink to this. That's the problem. It's why Cameron and Ridley Scott are both like, no, I won't touch that. That's dumb. It doesn't have to.
We have a crop of filmmakers right now who are doing this stuff. Is what's kind of great about like, okay, we're at the nadir of this franchise, right? Like this is maybe as low as it gets, at least in terms of like box office return.
Oh, definitely. I feel like even the disappointments of things like Predators or Prometheus, those can be defended in a way that these are just like, you guys. I mean, like I said, just there's a laziness to how this was even put together.
And like, it's all studio notes. It's all like, well, we have to have this Monster Mash movie without any real care for like making a good movie.
Who are visual effects guys, and who, by the way, after the failure of this and Skyline, went back to doing really good effects work. In fact, their effects house. Their effects house.
Stranger Things,
yeah.
I
mean, and they just did the effects for the Wicked movie that's coming out as of the recording of this. And they what's weird is they do the effects for The Predator.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that fun? Yeah.
Well, from what I've read, again, haven't seen the movie yet, but like the Predator is like weirdly referential to the whole of the franchise, including these movies.
Yeah, Shane Black tried to make sense of all of it. And that might have been a mistake. We'll talk extensively about
Yeah,
studio getting involved on that thing, because that
sure.
movie got just shredded in post production.
Let's
Absolutely
see.
sliced to.
We're 3 movies out from the Predator. We've got
Yeah.
Predators and then Prometheus. And does
I
Alien Covenant come out before or after
That's the
the
question I
Predator?
have. I wrote it down so that we would have it. Let me tell you the answer to that. Hold on. Yes, we get Prometheus and Covenant before we get the Predator.
Okay.
So it's Predators, Prometheus, Covenant, then the Predator. And I think the Predator. Oh, we're gonna have a lot of these same conversations because he really tries to get into the mythos there, and realize that tries to do what we're talking about, which is like, what is the like hierarchy of this alien race? Well, Shane Black had some answers for you, and there's interesting
Yeah.
ideas, but that movie doesn't work. Um,
And this movie, for to its credit, isn't actually trying to answer any of those questions, unlike the first AVP.
No, that's why I'm saying it's such an interesting thing where it's like you made a bunch of great inroads here, but you fucked up on these parts. You know, it's solutions to some things that have created new problems, and I think just much like the thing they do share is both of them are just bad concepts for Alien versus Predator. Trapping it in
Yeah.
the ancient pyramid and ice is dumb. Putting them in small town America is dumb. These are not the things I want to see the aliens and predators doing.
All right, John.
Yeah.
This is something we try not to do in this or any of our podcasts, but I
Yeah.
think this movie we're sort of running out of steam in terms of like things to actually talk about.
Because there's really
So,
not, I mean, I think actually even more so than the last one. There's not much movie here.
if you are to make an Alien vs Predator movie, and it has to be set on modern day Earth,
Oh, modern day Earth. Okay.
how do you make that work? Because
Mm.
that's the studio note, right? Is just like reduce cost, not make it future stuff.
Area 51.
Okay, go on.
They've collected. So these incidents have happened. They've collected these kind of like, specifically like the Area 51 of like Independence Day, right?
Okay.
So you've got all these artifacts in places. Something kicks off. Maybe we follow. I'm just barring a lot from Independence Day, but we follow either an agent or soldier or something that's bringing in a new artifact, and it was unaware of this because then you have your in character to have all this shit explained to them, right?
Sure. Of course, need
Um,
our boots in the ground. Doesn't know shit about shit guy.
Right, yeah. So he gets pulled into this. Maybe the movie opens with some kind of prologue where he fights off a predator or a xenomorph and ends up with this artifact, and they go, "You got to take it to this
Or
place."
he's part of a commando squad, a la Dutch from the first Predator, and his whole squad gets wiped
I mean,
out by a
the
predator.
best
And
scenario would be if you made this second, and this is just where you carried Arnold from. But yes, let's say it's an Arnold type. And actually, Black does a little bit of this in The Predator, but I want to expand this more so. And so he gets taken. That yes, oh yeah, actually even more so. He just gets scooped up in that retrieval of stuff.
totally,
Like the helicopter they put Dutch on, if that also carried the carcass of a predator or something,
or some of its tech or
whatever, and everything gets taken to an Area 51 type place, some sort of off-site black site. I like that. Just we try not to do this on the shows. We also do nothing but this on our shows. We just pretend we don't, because Meet the Monsters is always Brendan and I like solving story problems. Anyway, so that would be the thing, and then into that could come that maybe, you know what, I'll use their idea. The predators don't want this tech in the hands of humans, so they have sent a predator, but also there is some sort of xenomorph
So
egg.
humans have acquired xenomorph stuff.
Yeah. Let's say they have, but it's all hidden by the government, so that's why maybe nobody knows about it in the future. And then basically it's on the military base, the chaos that ensues.
Okay.
And you've got this guy who's an everyman. I mean, I'm picturing some kind of Kurt Russell-esque. You know what? If it's now, it's Wyatt Russell. But I'm saying,
All right.
give me a guy with real edge, not he committed crime somewhere in the past, but a guy's like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Gotta smoke.
Like, I love the idea of a movie like opening with the last scene of
Yeah,
Predator,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just like we start on this guy as a charred, like I survived something, and he's scooped up in this cover
But
up.
make it a siege movie. Make it. I mean, I'm picturing like a Carpenter movie with that vibe of like an assault on Precinct 13 or an Escape from New York, where the impulse of the main character is all this chaos is around me, and I just have to survive. I just got to get out of here and away from this. But I'm in this place. Also, I like the idea once again because I like the idea from the first Predator and Aliens of you're surrounded by all this military tech and it's not doing shit. They are slaughtering dudes left and right who are geared up to the teeth and ready to kick ass. And it's sort of this thing about like, you didn't know the forces you're messing with themes.
I like the idea maybe of the military industrial complex in here releasing the alien to try to fight the Predator, and then that goes wrong.
I like that idea too, where it's like, we do have this other thing in cold storage.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Maybe
thing,
that can get us out of this.
yeah,
No, it's actually way worse now.
it's way
Cool.
worse, and they're now propagating. Yeah, somebody's been some kind of Brent Spinery, thing has been fucking around dissecting alien shit, xenomorph shit, and it's like, hey, release, unlock, cell X14 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it, and then oh shit, that's actually, and so then it could go from we need to survive to we need to destroy all this to contain it. Then what that does is that severs it, right? It's like by the end of the movie, we need to turn this place to ash so that all of this ends here.
That makes the nuking of our situation a little bit more reasonable, as
Right.
opposed to let's nuke small town America, even though we are not given to understand what the United States military knows about xenomorph.
That's one of the that's what I'm talking about. That's one of my big problems in this movie is they introduce this idea, like in Predator 2, of the military's aware of some of this stuff, but the movie is so vague about it that it's just like, oh, you know how it is.
The line that did get me was like, but the government wouldn't lie to us.
That was funny. I did laugh at that. My other thing, here's the other thing, and keep it with a lot of the same stuff I have, and I can't believe this comic has never happened because it's also all owned by Fox. Fucking put Mulder and Scully in it.
X-Files meets Predator.
How has that never been done? They're all Fox properties. You've literally got a show about two people looking for alien life, and you've never had them meet aliens and or predators? Are you kidding me? They sent them to there's a comic where they go to the town in 30 Days of Night.
No offense to Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
How do they survive an encounter?
Well, they wouldn't be leading the action charge of it, right? They'd have to be there amongst other military people. No, because they're not going to. They're not going. Yeah, I mean, they have guns, but they're not like trained soldiers. So it's not like they're
right. I can't see Scully going full Ripley. That's all I'm saying.
I could make. You'd have to really push her. But I was also because the other thing that made me think of is the pitch I had about the Area 51 thing. Also makes me think of the end of the first X-Files movie where they're down in the the Antarctic and stuff like that. That movie rules. By the way, Fight the Future is awesome.
Fight the Future is awesome,
and that ending is so great. And I love cigarette smoking man. Well, they're trying to build a cigarette smoking man, right?
But the cigarette smoking man is this idea of a corporation. Future. It doesn't have a face.
That's the problem. And so it's like the first movie did Wayland, this one does Yutani. It's just like, but that's the thing that works in the first two Alien movies is the scariness of the faceless corporation that doesn't care about you.
Right. The problem with this movie is like those corporations don't, that singular entity that controls all of your life and your like ability to progress doesn't exist yet.
Right. No, that leads us back to doing an Alien movie in modern day doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I'm interested in the show.
Ultimately, I agree.
We talk about the show Alien Earth that's coming is going to be about how that corporation became an all-consuming thing. And I think that's interesting.
It is interesting. My problem right off the bat is calling it Alien Earth, because by calling the show Alien and not maybe even dealing with
It's going to
xenomorphs,
be
like
more
that
about
immediately.
the androids. Yeah.
Right, but like then why call it Alien other than that's why it's a part of the franchise?
Yeah, I mean that's the network going. We need to get people on board. Also,
Sure,
I
but
was
like
looking.
if you can call a Predator sequel Prey, why can't you just call
Yeah,
this show
why can't it be
like
called
Wayland
Weyland-Yutani?
Yutani?
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah, because that's not how IP works. I guess I don't know.
I know.
It's dumb.
Rebel, rebel, rebel,
By the
rebel.
way, Prey is the best title for a Predator sequel or prequel I could ever, and I can't believe it took someone that long to figure that out. Oh, speaking of this, we were talking about the Requiem. Did you know this movie was written and shot as Alien versus Predator: Survival of the Fittest? Requiem was a
Sure.
real late in the game title, and I think just because they thought that was too long, but that would be a better title for this.
Yeah. I mean, Survival of the Fittest makes sense. Like in terms of how the movie plays out, it doesn't exactly track.
I'll tell you the thing I would have called it if you're like, once again, they call me in. I love the idea that I would just be was like, we need a one-word title for this thing. Survival of the Fittest is too long. It's like, boom, AVP Evolution feels like what it should be called. If you're gonna stick a word on it,
When did Underworld Evolution come out? I think
it
that's
was
2006.
probably probably before. But if not that, some kind of play on the idea that things have changed. The Predalien is a step
Genesis.
forward.
Yeah.
Anything. Oh, yeah. Because later we'll try Terminator Genesis, and we're gonna spell it dumb too. God, that's another one that I walked out of the theater going, "What? What was I fucking thinking? Why did I pay to see this?"
They got me. Damn
God
it, they
damn
got
it.
me.
You know what got me? I wholeheartedly blame James Cameron for that, because he did a press thing for that movie where he goes, as far as I'm concerned, this is officially Terminator 3. I just saw it. This does. And I'm like, well, fuck, if James Cameron's saying this continues his mythology, then I guess I should go see it. And I'm like, God damn it, Cameron.
That was what burned the final bridge between your love of James
That
Cameron.
was it. Because we have talked about my slow descent into being someone who dislikes Cameron from somebody who used to worship the man.
Right.
I was a massive Cameron fan. Well, I will say I was psyched about Avatar. I thought, oh God, he's back to refine the thing, and I take nothing away from people who enjoy it, but I thought it was a snooze. But that's just me.
John, I can only respect your opinion so much because you have not entertained The Way of Water. So
No,
I don't
because
know
I
what to
hated
tell
them.
you.
You really think there's a scenario that disliking the first movie, I'm gonna watch the second one and go, oh, I get it now.
Well, once you see those big old space whales, I don't know, maybe.
Well, we'll see when we get to Fire and Ash or whatever the fucking third one's going to be called. Ash and Stone or what is it? Brim. It's like Fire and Ash.
It's the fire one. That's all I know.
No, I
And then
know
the
it's the
fourth one
fire
will be
one.
Earth. We'll
Yeah.
complete the cycle.
Yeah.
And then the fifth one will be Spirit if they're gonna ape on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It is Fire and Ash. And I saw some pretentious quote from him the other day about how, like, fire is destruction and ash is what remains, and that's why. Oh, shut up! You just called it that. It's like it had to be a fire thing. All right. Well, something.
The fourth one will be called The Heart of Stone or something.
Oh yeah. What was it? Was this one supposed to be called like the Seed Bringer? And everybody's like, "Oh, don't call it that." It was called something, and they changed it to Fire and Ash, and it was something with seed, and everybody was like, gross. You shouldn't call it that.
Don't do that. No.
I understand that's like a thing in the world, but you don't want people buying tickets to the Seed Bringer. Or whatever.
This is a seed spreader.
Yeah, it's something. Seed spreader, yeah. James Cameron, Seed Spreader. Get your tickets now. Now, something I forgot to do on the last one that there's an addition we're adding to the show is to look at where this placed in the box office and what did take box office that year. So okay, 2007. I don't necessarily. I know this is a thing where I was asking somebody. I'm like, oh, take a guess what was number one, and people are like, I don't remember what came out in 2007. That's fine. I'm just going to ask you this though. Just take a guess. Where did Alien vs. Predator Requiem rank in the top? Let's see. I'll give you a number. There were Box Office Mojo's tracking 200. The 200 highest grossing movies of 2007. Where What is your best guess for what this movie placed at?
39.
Okay, you're not super far off. 47.
All right. I knew it was
47.
under 50
Worldwide total of 130.2. Like I said, which is on a $40 million
because
budget. That's a good return, but they did sever any chance for sequels. They knew the line was trending down, and domestic box office was bad.
Right. No, it did Warcraft numbers.
Yeah, it did. Actually, you know what? As of the recording of this will be dated by the time this comes out. It did Venom 3 numbers, because I don't know if you've seen the foreign gross for Venom is way bigger than the domestic gross. Anyway, number one movie of that year, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Yeah, that tracks.
That made $960 million worldwide. I think we forget, because that franchise really burned itself out, how huge that first trilogy of movies was. They were massive.
That third one especially, everyone had watched the second one and went, okay, where are you going with this? Third one just jammed like 6 scripts into a shotgun and fired it at a wall. Blue. And
I kind of like it, though. I gotta say,
it's fun. It's a vibe. It's
a vibe. I really do enjoy those first 3 movies. I really like them. And yes, before anyone, of course, we're gonna do an IP Squad season about the damn Pirates movies. That's a given.
Wow,
That's a given. That just writes itself. Number 2, I mean, I will say this top 5 is a real snapshot of what we were into in 2007. Because number 2 was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Of course.
Right. I mean, so all of these are sequels, barring the last one, which became a franchise. Spider-Man 3 was number 3. Because people forget, as much as people hate that movie,
it did do well.
It made $860 million. It was huge. It's crazy.
I was there at 4 a.m. opening night.
Oh, as was I. How about Shrek the Third?
Again, another franchise where it's like you forget that actually the Shrek movies have never done bad.
Oh, no. They've all been huge. And then number 5, weird to think about when this was movie 1, Transformers.
Whoa. I was actually just having a conversation about that franchise with somebody, and I will grant that the first one is pretty good.
It's super fun. Especially as, in 2007, we loved that movie when it came out. Like, we were like, yeah!
There were seeds in it of what my problems with that franchise would be going forward.
But they're not.
When we have Bumblebee peeing on
John Turturro.
What's his name?
Legendary.
John Turturro.
You talking about legendary character actor John Turturro?
You're right. When he gets peed on by a big robot, I should have seen problems on the horizon.
Yeah. You know I'm a defender. You know I'm a defender of all of them.
Yeah, and
but
look,
in somewhat of the same way you're a defender of this movie, I'm a defender of one of the sequels, though. I'm like, it's fun when the robots punch each other.
Yeah,
I can't defend the peeing. I mean, that's not.
Or the racist robots from number 2.
No. I mean, there's unforgivable stuff in those movies. But I will die on the hill that is Bumblebee. I think Bumblebee is a great movie. Is a legitimately great movie. And then just rounding out the other top 10 are Ratatouille, I Am Legend, The Simpsons movie, National Treasure Book of Secrets, and 300.
The guys who directed this movie, their special effects house was doing 300 while they were filming this movie.
I saw that. They were like approving shots on the set of this movie.
Yeah, that's wild.
Crazy. 300's a lot better movie than this.
Yes, but again, Snyder is an auteur with like a distinct vision, if nothing else.
That's the thing I would say about, like, as I always say with Bay and Snyder, you don't have to like them, but they are not anonymous like hack filmmakers. They are, and I saw if he's going to push back, they are artists. You don't have to like the art. But they are making art out there.
Art is subjective, but they have a very specific vision.
They have visions in their heads that they are putting out in existence, and you can tell they are maybe the 2 least anonymous filmmakers I've ever seen. Speaking of people's reactions to this, let's read some highs and lows to wrap this thing up, because people have opinions.
Yeah, so did we. Where do you where did we, what's our landing opinion? Because like I would kind of recommend this movie as just like a schlock gore fest.
Here is my yeah. I would say if you're gonna watch one of them, I would ultimately say watch this, even though I think they're both equally bad films. But I will say this one is less pretentious.
Yeah.
And I said, if anything, I wish it was actually dumber. I mean that. I wish it would have more fun. It shouldn't be this dark, and I mean visually and tonally dark. It should be more like, I wish the movie leaned more into just being like, oh fuck, oh Jesus, look at that. You know, if
Well, and we'll get into that in Predators, I think.
Predators. I think we're both big fans of Predators. Kind of rules. Like, I really love Predators. Like, I truly don't understand people's problems with that one. Because that's kind of what I want to see when a movie has Predator in its name. Yeah, yeah, that movie's cool, and Adrian Brody's a huge badass in it, which I love that he had an action star turn. Okay, a lot of what you would expect in the in the highs and lows, probably. Well, I'll start with the low. Here we go. This comes to us from Collective Agency. And the title of the review is A Disgrace to the Alien and Predator Films. Let me start by saying I'm a huge Aliens fan. I love Predator, and I played the Aliens versus Predator games to death, and they were just fantastic. The first film bothered me, and I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. This movie, that's in quotes, however, I do hate with a passion. Here's why. My biggest problem with this film is that it's set in suburban America. That's not the iconic setting you come to expect from an Alien movie or the true AVP series, which are the comics and games which are set in the same murky, dark settings of the Alien films. It takes all the imagination that could have been had in a futuristic setting and dashes it. I just cannot get over that. You have a great series of AVP comics and games that help create a truly great setting, atmosphere, locations, characters, and some great stories, but no. They went with the biggest horror movie cliche of all, setting it in a small suburban town, ignoring all the potential AVP series, and giving us a cheap horror flick. Honestly, sometimes when I heard an alien creep up on someone, I almost expected Jason Voorhees to kill them instead. I mean, I'll just say this. All of that is valid, but that's not the overriding problems here.
The sound design was way better in this film.
Oh, I think
because they actually used all the Predator and Alien sounds properly.
Yes, and actually they went back and re-recorded them as opposed to just reusing them from the other movies. So they're more polished and clearer here.
Totally.
So yeah, but let's talk about the Aliens and Predators. What can I say about them? Well, they look like they should at least, but the way they act is, if you'll excuse the pun, alien to how they would be in the games and comics. The Predator's the best example. He's meant to be hunting the aliens, but they managed to get the best of him a lot in this series, sneaking up behind him. And if you know anything about Predators, you'd know there's no way this could happen. They're highly trained killing machines, and I just thought the whole thing was like cops and robbers. The Predator's the cop after the aliens, who are the robbers, and they go around town running riot, outwitting him on every turn, and quite frankly, he's a joke. He can't even hit them with his shoulder cannon.
But a large Austrian man covered in mud. That's okay.
Yeah. The fight. Oh, but hold on. That just reminds me that they put Get to the Chopper in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. They couldn't resist. The fight scenes. There were none in the movie. It was so dark I could never make any of it out. Sounded cool, though. And also, I noticed a lot of the high-tension scenes are just taken off of the Alien and Predator movies. Action for action. There's one in particular I just could not believe. Aliens corner a girl. She sits up against a wall while the alien brings his head down really close to her to try and get some tension. Reminds you of that famous scene from Alien 3? Yes, because it's exactly that. It was stolen and rehashed for this movie. Keep in mind, anytime they say movie, it's in quotes. There are many other examples.
What else would it be?
Yeah, once again, I'm willing to call it a movie. There are many other examples, such as the Predator healing his wounds up on a tree and letting out a roar afterward, taken from the first Predator film. There's some issues with the music as well. For example, any scene involving the Predator, you hear that jungle music from the first Predator movie. No imagination at all. I'm not sure if this was meant to be an homage or something, but to me, it just
It's a
came off.
motif for a character.
Yeah, that's fine because it's interesting. He calls it the jungle music. I would just call that the Predator theme, but that's whatever. Yeah, it just came off as.
I can't believe it made the same clicking sounds as the Predator. What are they, copying the Predator with the Predator?
Or something. It just came off as, look, that's the Predator music. Yeah, that's what we call a theme in film, man. It's so crazy that, they're still using that same piece of music from James Bond in the 60s. What the fuck, man?
What is this weird score they use at the beginning of every Star Wars movie? They're just ripping off the first one.
Oh, God, this again. Ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, ba. Oh, bullshit, man. Ugh. Get some new shit. It's like, there's also...
Come on, John Williams, you hack.
Story, oddly, there is none whatsoever. First 30 minutes is a very bad teenage movie. Nothing appealing whatsoever. Characters seem to just appear out of thin air in every scene. They're just so uninteresting. You don't want to get to know them. You just want to see the alien predators killing them. By the end of the film, I honest to God could not name any of the characters. Overall, one of the worst films I've ever seen. Go and watch it, because if you can get through this movie, the rest of your life, no matter the struggles, would never be as tough to swallow as this garbage. 1 out of 10 stars. Once again, couple of points I agree with. Way hyperbolic.
Go watch any episode of MST3K and you will see a worse movie than this one.
I said, from a visual standpoint, it's shockingly bad just for it being a Fox released movie. That's more my attitude, is like, this should have more polish to it. But no, it's otherwise pretty competently made.
If this was a straight to video release and hadn't had a theatrical wide release, I'd been like, yeah, damn, they did a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. I gotta say, this will not surprise you. Not a lot of particularly well thought out positive reviews of this movie.
I'm guessing a lot of the 10 stars are just like, I liked it.
Yeah, playing great. Best Alien and Predator movie. A classic. Yeah.
I like on a review that's just, yeah.
There is a lot of stuff like that. Shut up, pretentious movie snobs. A lot of that stuff. Way better than the last piece of shit. But I will read, I think, what's in good. This is from Ignore Peter. And titles his review, Blood and Guts. I was psyched to go see this movie. I was not a fan of the first AVP, and like so many others, chalked up its awfulness to being rated PG-13 and focusing on the human side of the story. Once I saw that this was rated R, once I saw the R rating glistening after the AVP, I was excited. As it turns out, I was right. Certainly there's a good amount of gore in AVPR. Yeah, he's calling it by what it's supposed to be. Melting limbs. Oh, by the way, just because he mentions that was pretty rad. When the hunter dad shot the alien and the acid burned his arm off. That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, when the kid has to watch his own dad's arm melt off, like, okay, we're setting a tone.
No, I like that. Like I said, I'm on board for the gnarliness. I just also need some other stuff to back it up. No notes on the gore. All the gore rules.
Why did the Predator skin that one sheriff?
Yeah, that seemed unnecessary. They seem
he was just having fun, I guess.
I know. Yeah, once again, that's another thing I don't like is in order to turn these into the gore fest, they do have to make the Predator a little bit more of an indiscriminate killer than he should be. And I get the sense it's like they don't take trophies off of literally every kill they make. Anyway,
he's melting most of the kills. Anyway,
yeah, and that's fine because he's the wolf, as we know. Let's see. Melting limbs, dismemberments, even some violence against children. Woo! Woo! Fuck those kids.
One thing we love is violence against children.
The Predator is...
Do not take that quote out of context.
Oh, yeah. We're going to play that back in court. The Predator... Mr. Gagoni was quoted as saying... The Predator is once again the most badass extraterrestrial on Earth. And it was fun to see the infamous Predalien. Some fun homages to the originals, amongst them the return of the all-time great line, "Get to the chopper." Actually, I'm going to back out on that. It's not a great line. It's only a great line because Arnold says, "Chopper." The line itself...
If it's not delivered by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not
It's
as
one of those
iconic,
lines.
no.
It's the same thing with the "I'll be back." "I'll be back." Anyone could have said it. It's the way Arnold says these things. They're not
Hasta
necessarily.
la vista, baby.
Yeah, because exactly. Yeah, anyone saying that wouldn't be. And again, some fun, blood, and executions, but no tension, no dread, no guts in the otherwise bloody film. 10 out of 10 stars. I don't know where he was going with that last sentence. And again, some fun, blood, and executions, but no tension, no dread, no guts in the otherwise bloody film.
That sounds like a bad review, but they gave it 10 stars.
Seems to be like, I like all the blood. Where are the guts? I didn't see a single entrail in this thing.
No viscera whatsoever.
I have seen people like that. Those people bum me out, even as much as I love violent stuff. When people are like, R-rated, not far enough, though. It's like, well, Jesus Christ, what do you want?
I'm trying to think of all the Alien movies. Is there an instance where we actually see human guts being torn out? Like, there's obviously, like, android viscera.
No, I can't think. Well, because the Alien don't really do, I mean, and the Predator skin stuff, they're not coming for, like,
Right.
I'm going to rip this
And, like, when an
guy's
alien
spleen
bursts out of a chest, it's usually just, like, a gory red hole.
Yeah, because the
sticking out.
alien kills. It doesn't, like, rip something apart. I mean, just it like, they do a lot of thing where the little, like, mouth, whatever, the tongue thing, like, goes into somebody's head and it's over.
Well, actually, you want to know the weirdest beat in this movie for me? It's the moment where the Predator gets up on an alien that is just hunched over one of its victims and continually hitting it with its inner mouth over and over again, as though it's, like, taking bites out of it. Like,
they don't.
It never struck me that the xenomorphs are eating people.
No, they're either number one, they mainly want to use you as a host for the chest bursters, and then barring that, if you're in their way, it'll just kill you.
Right.
Like,
anyway, that struck me as weird.
Yeah, that was just gore for gore's sake, right?
Right. But it's like, why would the alien be stopped and then just, like, continuing to puncture a corpse with its inner jaw? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's our thoughts on Alien versus Predator Requiem. So next week, so ends our 2-movie run through, these being one franchise, and we'll separate them back onto their own franchises.
It feels like we're parents, and these two kids got together into a bit of a scrap, a bit of a brawl, and now we got to grab them both by the collars and pull them apart and go, okay, you two, you go play in separate corners of the house now, and we'll check back in.
Yeah, and the first one we're going to check back in with is The Predator, for a little film called Predators.
More than one of them?
That's crazy talk. No, we've actually already seen more than one of them in some of these, but that's
true.
Not a bad tagline on this. The most dangerous killers on the planet. But this is not our planet.
I like that. That's pretty good.
And then it hits us with this is one of those twofers, because then it's The Hunt is On July 9th.
Nice.
Yeah. Very simple poster for it, too. It is just a shadowy profile shot of the Predator, emphasizing the long blade coming off of the arm.
I remember being so stoked for this movie when it came.
Same here, man. Number one, Robert Rodriguez Presents did a lot for me as well. Because I was, especially at this time, still am, but especially at this time, was a Rodriguez obsessive.
Well, look, we hadn't quite gotten to Shark Boy and Lava Girl yet.
Yeah. He'd done a couple Spy Kids movies, but he was still mostly badass. You know,
this was peak Grindhouse era Robert Rodriguez.
I remember, I just was like, it was just like, the guy can do no wrong. This guy gets it, man. This guy knows. Well, I mean, and I do think, actually, regardless of obviously this movie doesn't take off the way they were hoping, he was the right person, I think, because you talk about a guy who gets how to do schlock in a way that's palatable.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
Yeah, I mean, and I still do love the guy. I'm one of the few defenders of his last movie, Hypnotic, which I think people slept on, and I think Hypnotic is very good.
I think he's living his best life in that green screen that he built for himself just down the street from his house.
He's having a hell of a time out there, man. Also, I think his work on the Star Wars stuff has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he knows how to do that. And if he wants to keep doing that, I'm fine. All right. Well, yeah, so that'll be next week on the show. But until then, the case file is closed.